about Megadeth calling it quits. I can recall my sixth grade year in middle school when I truly branched off into my own musical world, a dark world enmeshed in the speed and brutality of heavy metal. The music became the soundtrack to my early obsession with horror cinema. Metal carried some of the same iconography of everything I imagined to be scary and dangerous. After borrowing a friend's copy of Metallica's Jump in the Fire EP, I would endlessly pore over the limited liner notes, wondering who the mysterious D. Mustaine was. Was he the one responsible for the head-banging yet booty-shaking hypnotic groove of the title track? A good friend soon informed me that Mustaine had been unceremoniously dismissed from Metallica and had gone on to form his own band, one that might be even heavier, Megadeth. My first foray into Megadeth was the band's first major label release, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? From the opening track, Wake Up Dead, I was hooked. I played that cassette so often that the track listing is ingrained in my DNA. I starved myself at lunch to save money and eventually made a trip to a mega record store, the Warehouse in Pinole, California. I was allowed only one purchase with my sacrificial funds, and I chose Megadeth's debut release, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. While Mustaine and Combat Records later admitted they lost the original artwork, the crude cover, a plastic skull with tinfoil, scared the bejesus out of me. It looked like something from a madman's Etsy store. I was all in. When the dark piano and finger-tapped guitar opening of Last Rites Love to Death kicked in, I felt like I was strapped to a chair in a serial killer's basement. For preteen me, this album was genuinely terrifying. It was calculating, fast, heavy, and Mustaine's voice was unlike anything I had ever heard before or since. Megadeth, along with Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax, would come to be known as the Big Four of thrash metal. Their rise from underground club bands in the 1980s to arena headliners in the 1990s was amazing to watch. Seeing them go from late night Headbangers Ball to the Arsenio Hall show was a sight to behold. As Megadeth matured through the 90s, their success transformed them into radio rock, a fate that would have seemed unthinkable just a decade earlier. Their sound softened, and I eventually fell out of touch with them musically. I suppose, as we all grew up, we went our separate musical ways, but the imprint the band left on me can be found in everything I do musically to this very day. But today, we look back at the legacy of heaviness and recount the enduring story of Megadeth. And I am joined by a man who also was inspired to write heavy riffs because of Megadeth. Please welcome founding guitar player of God Forbid, Doc Coyle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How are you, Doc?
I'm having a flustered day, running late, not properly caffeinated, still a coffee
Oh,
short, but
yeah, that's the worst.
we're gonna try and bring our A game nonetheless.
What was your first introduction into Megadeth?
So Megadeth is part of my heavy metal origin story.
Okay.
So I grew up in relatively, inner city environment, mostly black and brown. And but in the neighborhood I kind of came up in, there were these two white girls who were sisters, and I was friends with them. And I remember I was at the time I was spending some time at my dad's house, was getting a little older, and I would come to and went to visit my mom. So I was back in that little neighborhood, and I hadn't seen them in a while, and they had become kind of rock and roll heavy metal teeny boppers. So I'm going in their room, and they have like posters of like Sebastian Bach and Axl Rose, and they're watching MTV, and it was like I saw the video for Symphony of Destruction. It was like a light bulb moment in my life where it's like, what is that? And it was just I was completely drawn to it, and went home, told my brother, I was like, we need to MTV. It has the thing. We need the thing, the stuff, the riffs, the thing, And so even before Metallica, before Guns N' Roses, it was Megadeth. And of course, like I think some of those bands kind of maybe went past Megadeth in terms of like my being my favorite, but Megadeth is still right there, top probably 5 for me all time, top 10 at the bare minimum. And yeah, really formative to just my style of guitar playing and riff writing. I still tend to think in melodic terms, in very intricate terms. Just their melodic sensibility is unique to all the big four bands and maybe all thrash metal in general. They just have a little bit more of this
Hmm.
refined quality, okay, so here's what sets Megadeth apart from all these bands, all right? Dave Mustaine would come out, all right, in a white collared shirt, okay?
Yeah.
And and when you saw Megadeth, it's like, like this was like the thrash metal band that could be senators. They were the most professional. That was like at least I guess I'd say when you get into the Countdown to Extinction years, maybe not the early years when they're like,
Still in t-shirt.
doing
Yeah.
speed and heroin and that version of it. But yeah, there's something to this day that just you know they're really one of a kind. There's not I'd say maybe there's like I don't know if you know that band Havoc,
Yeah.
really great like thrash
Mhm.
band. Like I hear like a lot of Megadeth and Havoc, but outside of Havoc, like you just don't hear too many new bands like, oh, that's clearly a Megadeth thing. Like I hear a lot. Avenged Sevenfold has a lot of parts that are like, oh, that's a
Mhm.
Megadeth thing. Or I think Lamb of God, in their
Mhm.
style, there's a lot of
Mhm.
Megadeth, especially like early P cells kind of type stuff. But obviously, because of the vocals and how heavy Lamb of God is, a lot of people don't make that connection, to the Megadeth influence. So yeah, their uniqueness is um pretty singular. And like you said, with his voice and his as a like, I think we don't talk about Megadeth a lot, maybe more so than any band of the entire thrash era.
Mhm.
Is he's probably the best lyricist of the entire genre. Like the things he was talking about, the subject matter, being able to kind of create phraseology that like sticks with you, like these kind of like, hello me, meet the real me,
Yeah.
peace
Yeah.
sells
Even
with who's buying.
yeah.
That's like bumper sticker, you know, like almost like there's a political marketing. I hate to use the word propaganda, but um
Look, that's the true meaning of the word, so we can't look at it as a pejorative when we use it in its true meaning,
yeah,
so
sure,
yeah,
sure, sure.
it's
But
using
I'm saying in terms of understanding like a certain phrase, how that sticks with you, and
yeah.
how like the nature of how memorable his lyrics were, and the things he was talking about. That it was like there was a seriousness and kind of social consciousness that I think goes back that was a lot more sophisticated than I think than a lot of the other bands at the time.